Hello and welcome to Beyond the Extra Vibe, the show that gives you extra content. We're still working on that tagline.
I think that intro was perfect.
It was nice.
I think the 6 hours you spent building up to it. I mean, I definitely think that was worth that time, and it was well spent. I'm a bit emotional, if anything, and I don't know if that's because I'm emotional because of how shit it was or because of how good it was, but we'll find out as the call goes on. We are back on the Zoom for some more extra vibe. We're enjoying it on the Zoom, aren't we, man?
Yeah, I mean, last one was quite good, wasn't it? We enjoyed it, so we thought, let's do another one.
Yeah, that's it. And this week we're going to be discussing our top 10 best new rock vocalists. What do we mean by best new rock vocalists, Mr. Basie?
Well, we mean like breakthrough. Over the last, what would we say, 10 years?
I'm quite happy to go with that.
Yeah. Around that kind of maximum of 10 years, roughly, maybe. And not, they may have been knocking about before then, but we're saying when they've broken through, really made an impression.
Yeah, I think we spoke about it, didn't we? That kind of passing of the guard. Do you know what I mean? There's people that haven't reached that potential that are maybe still breaking through, but that are before that 2011 barrier. That we've not included in this list. It's about maybe people that currently feel like they're rising to the crop of what it means to be a top rock vocalist on the scene. And when we say vocalist, it can mean the actual the quality of their singing, the range, their performance, how integral they are in that band because of their character. There's a lot of thing comes into being particularly a rock vocalist. It's it's more about, for me, the whole package. If you think about legendary rock vocalists who these guys are perhaps taking the torch from, they have everything. They can have a crowd in the palm of their hand by doing nothing or by doing everything, depending completely on their position in the band, and how they control that audience. So we've compiled these lists separately, haven't we?
Yes. We don't know what each other has, so it's a reveal not just for you but for us as well.
How did you find it? Because I thought it was a pain in the arse.
It was
really, really difficult for me.
Yeah, for me, the top four were quite easy, and I feel the bottom four, which is absolutely no discredit to these people because they're still in the top 10, were quite easy. But it's getting the middle of the road ones right. So like your 5, 6, 7, because they're obviously still very good to be in the list, but it's getting that ordering, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
So yeah,
and it's all down to our own personal preference, isn't it? I mean, I have this thing where I don't want to miss anybody. In previous things, when we before the vibe, we used to do like quite a football orientated thing, and we do these lists, and I go, oh, fucking hell!
Yeah,
I can't believe I forgot Daniel James. He had good hair. Basically anybody that had good hair or long hair. If I missed them on my team of all time, I was devastated. So and it's so easy to, and it sounds so bad, but it doesn't mean it at all. It's because there's so many great new vocalists.
Yeah, this is it.
I think it's even easier to forget people. So let's go straight in. Number 10.
Who have I got? Right. Well, I'm starting off with maybe some people on the lower end of the top 10 that you may not have heard of before. So I'm starting off.
Let me get the hipster card out. Just get it out of the hipster wallet.
This is absolutely it's not hipstery. It's down to the quality of the vocalist. But I feel that perhaps they need a little bit more appreciation and exposure. Because I enjoy their work, and this one's a pretty recent one. It's a guy called Ehab Omran, who is in a band called South of Eden. He used to be in a band called Black Coffee, who some people might know, but they changed their name a while ago. But really kind of retro vocalist. He's got that kind of old school 70s look about him. He has that kind of power in his voice. So for me, he's my number 10.
That's cool. I've heard of South of Eden.
Yeah,
good band. Yeah.
I mean, they've not been going long in terms of their new iteration, but of the content they've released currently under their new kind of name and style. Yeah, I've been really digging it. I really enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to seeing where they go with that next. And I think he could be moving up that list if they keep going the way they're going.
That's killer, man. My number 10 is a gentleman called Angus Dowling of the band The Babe Rainbow. Now, this can be one to contention because it's like psychedelic pop rock. You know, it's perhaps not at the core of that rock sound, which a lot of the guys that I've picked are. But the reason why I wanted to pick Angus is it's a much different tone than a lot of the other guys that I've picked. You know, it's much more that higher, much more soft thing, and I think it's very difficult to carry that. You know, if you've got like a really strong rock voice, you know, you can just do that, just fire that through everything. You know, whereas when you've got a band that's doing a lot of different textures, it's a different responsibility, particularly live. Like I've seen them live, the Australian band. I saw them in Birmingham in this lovely cool pub called the Hare and Hounds, and he carried it wonderfully, very eclectic. You know, a bit of the Robert Plant, a bit of the old, bit of the old hand drop. You know, but it was very cool and it was very real. You know, and I really connected with it. And I'd really recommend people check them out. Very Beatles. You know, but very cool. So yes, that's my number 10. That's my hipster card.
Yeah, just you couldn't comment. That's more hipster than me just then.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I've got many hipster cards in the wallet. I've got a wallet made of cork, so I've got a hipster fucking wallet and all that.
That's amazing. What's your number 9?
I like it. Swing it back. My number 9 is a gentleman we've had on the show. It's Mr. John Drake of the Dust Coda. You know, I've held my hands up. You know, and I'm sure John won't mind because we get on pretty well with him. The sexual tyrant. I wasn't massively. I mean, I was aware of the Dust Coda, but when Mojo Skyline came out and we had him on the show, we both really got into that album, and he's just got a killer rock voice. Just does everything that it needs to do to serve that band. And the main reason I picked him over other people, like obviously like Dirty Honey Frontman would be another one that was in contention. You know, I've not got in my list.
Wow.
And the reason is I prefer John is lyrically. I think lyrically he's got this real creative edge to him. He writes songs about stories or films he's watched, you know, like Jimmy Two Times, and he does it in a way that's eclectic but cool and not awkward, which is a difficult thing to do. And like I say, I always respect the boys who are rocking a guitar and singing as well because it's a double duty.
It's difficult. So, yeah.
Big love to Mr. Drake.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair shout. For me,
who's your number 9?
For me, it's a guy we had on very recently on the podcast. It's Daniel Byrne of Revival Black.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because it's a recent one for me because I've known of them, but I haven't sat down until we did the podcast, like till before then, and listened to the entire album, like start to finish. And he's got so much power in that voice, isn't he? Like,
oh, he's killer, man.
Yeah,
I remember when we played with him and he got up and he really reaches it, particularly when he's doing his lockdown videos and he do these covers of songs like Chandelier and pop songs. His range is fucking awesome. Yeah,
this was what I was about to say. It's about, like, for me, he's got so much range in his voice, and it's, you know, he's a throwback as well to that kind of maybe that 80s 70s type, not powerful vocalist,
high range.
Yeah, high range. And yeah, he's impressed me. And again, he's another one that I'm looking forward to seeing more of in the future. Because obviously at the moment we've only got the one album. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more of him.
Cool. Now, what's your number 8?
My number 8.
Your number 8.
Right. Okay. It is a guy called Tom Rampton of The Treatment. People might, people might know, you know, The Treatment as they've had 3. Well, yeah, in total now they've had 3 different vocalists, and of course, Tom is the newest addition. And I feel that, particularly in the last album that they've just done, he's really kind of come into his own now, and he's got this kind of old school, kind of Bon Scott type, like, rawness to his voice, and it's very kind of old, like, you know, it's dirty, it's like gritty, and it really fits with the band well. And now it's kind of pushed the band on as well. So I think that you know, him coming in and doing that has put him on number 8 for me. What's yours?
No, I like that. No, I think that's a cool choice, man. Mine is Jaron Johnston of the Cadillac 3. I mean, Cadillac 3, the thing with Jaron, man, is that when the first time I saw him to the last time I saw them, is he just exuberates everything that's cool about being in a band. Like he wears I saw him at Rambling Man, and me and Milou went and we were pissed up, but we've been drinking all day, and Cadillac came on, so up for it, and he came on, Jaron, he's drinking already, and he's got these Les Pauls, big Marshall stack, and they come out, and he did this thing where he cocked his leg up and turned to his amp, and then cocked his leg on the ground, and it was perfectly 90 degrees. Do you know what I mean? It was like, and I was just like, this is the coolest motherfucker I've ever seen. You know, so cool, and for me, that's part of being the rock vocalist. You know, but his voice is fantastic for what they do. Obviously, it's that southern thing, and he's got some real deep southernness in him, and he can do the delicate stuff as well. You know, on their album The Legacy, which was a lot more country, they really brought it down and spoke a lot sort of about family and a lot about faith as well. And it was very southern, and you really heard that beautiful sort of southern twirl to it. And not a lot of people can do that. Even southern bands, they don't get that real southern twang to it, and you naturally end up trying to emulate that when you listen to the record and when you see them live, you know, and it's all part of it. But yeah, he's just, for me, he's got every aspect of what I look for in a rock vocalist. You know, it makes me feel like I'm 10 years old again. I'm thinking, you're the dude, you're the fucking dude, man. You know, you're badass, and I just want to be up there doing it. You know, so yeah, I think that's my choice. You know, really cool guy.
That's fair.
What are we on now? So we've had 10, 9, 8, 7. Yes. What's your 7?
Well, number 7 is one again that people may have not heard of, or they might have. They might go, "What are you talking about?" It's a guy called Nick Reese of Joyous Wolf.
I've not heard of them.
You've not heard of them?
I've not heard of them, Joyous Wolf.
As
much as it pains me to give Mr. Basie this joy, as you can see, he's very excited about it.
Yeah, no, it's we see. Usually, you're like, "Well, I've heard of them," so it's rare when we get this.
I've not heard of them, but I like to be honest.
Yeah, it's cool. Again, they're a band that's broken through over the last couple of years. They're starting to get through over in America. They've got. The band as a whole have got this kind of Pearl Jam vibe, but with a bit more of like it's like early days Pearl Jam, a bit more of a rockier edge, more towards rock than grunge, and they also have this kind of retro-y vibe to them in general. And Nick himself, he has got this kind of Eddie Vedder vibe, but with more power. And he's in terms of his stage presence as well. He does these kind of weird kind of dances as well. He's like really confident, and it's just a bit different.
Just show me again now.
Yeah, he dances a bit like weirdly, and he moves his feet as well.
But if it works,
it's so unusual, and it's a really unusual thing. But there's real like confidence and conviction in what he's doing, because I think because he's got such a good voice, he can get away with it. Yeah, and I enjoy that, and it's he's a very recent discovery for me. And again, it's another band I'm looking forward to hearing more of, because they've only got an EP out at the moment. Looking forward to seeing more.
No, that sounds cool. I'll check them out, man.
Yeah, they're worth checking out. What's your your pick?
My number 7 is Mike Kerr of Royal Blood. A lot of this based on their most recent album, Typhoons, which is absolutely fucking awesome. So cool. It's so different from a lot of the rock music that I listen to normally. You know, it's it kind of wanders similar to Foo Fighters into that Radio 1 sort of thing. But there's just so much power in the album. And Mike plays bass and sings, but he plays a bass basically for a guitar amp and a bass amp, and it's just him and a drummer. I mean, they play with a keyboard player now, and they're similar to Angus with Babe Rainbow. It's a completely different type of vocal than I'd normally like. Normally, well, years ago when I was a lot younger, I'd really struggle with this vocal, but it serves Royal Blood so well, and he sings rhythmically with the drummer, because the drummer's got this almost like rhythm, rhythm and blues, drum and bass style about him, but that toyed with a very fuzzy bass, and then Mike's very rhythmic vocals just makes the whole thing feel like you're on this awesome like fuzzy journey. I just dig it, man. New album, I'd recommend it to anyone. Typhoon. So yeah, Mike Kerr of Royal Blood.
So it's a fair shout. It's interesting.
Swinging in at number 6 for me is another man we've had on the show, Mr. Nathan James of Inglorious.
Yes, that's a good one.
Yeah, so Nathan vocally is pretty much everything that I look for in a vocalist. Not to blow smoke up his arse. I think he's got such a powerful vocal, great range. No discredit to him. I don't think he's great on stage. I think there's people in this list I've got that are nowhere near as good lyrically as Nathan that are better on stage. Yeah. But his voice makes up for that because of the sheer power and velocity of it. And particularly, like as we said, we're both big fans of that last album, We Will Ride. And I think working with Ramesh, as we said in the interview, got the most out of his vocal. Layers and layers of it. Just perfectly mixed. And he's killer. What about you? Number 6.
My number 6 is one that we've seen before on here. It's John Drake of Dust Coda. I've put him higher up the list as for very similar reasons as what you said. Again, he's got that power in his voice. Lyrically, he's great. I was very impressed with the album that they put out, Mojo Skyline, as we discussed on last week's Extra Vibe. He's shot up that list for me. At the start of the year, wouldn't even know who he was. so it's,
I appreciate your honesty. Yeah.
Well, that's it, and like that's the antithesis for me of a breakthrough artist. Like he has literally broke through. Like I didn't know him, at the start of the year. Now he's here, and for me he's my number 6. What's yours?
So my number 5 is Baz. Is Baz out of Wagons, Massive Wagons, Baz Mills and Massive Wagons. It was difficult with him and Nathan. I didn't do it on purpose, but they're both completely different.
Yeah.
And I think, and it's no discredit to Nathan at all, but as a performer and as a character for him and Wagons, I just have him that little bit higher up. You have this thing with Wagons where you listen to him and you think, oh, this is cool, it's feel good, I like it, and then you see him and it's like, okay, now I get it. Baz comes out with his hat on and he's swinging the mic stand, he's spinning it and he's just got you by the bollocks. And it's like, fucking hell, I can't. Like, we supported him in Wolverhampton and just first time Jade had seen them in this arts centre. And I remember they came out and I was just hooked. I was just there and I was just digging it, like really enjoyed it and really tapped into not just Baz's performance, but the band, but Baz in particular he's got you. He knows how to hold a crowd, and he makes the most of where his strengths lie. He's not as strong vocally as other people in this list, but he knows that. He's not trying to be more than that. He's not trying to be the guy he's not trying to be David Coverdale. He's trying to make the most of his strengths, and I think he does that really well, man. So yeah, Baz Mills from Wagons for me, coming in at 5. He's coming in at 5 for yourself.
For me, it's Josh Kiska of Greta Van Fleet. He's got room to grow because obviously it's still very early in his career. He's younger than me, so
which is absolute madness.
It is madness. A lot have said he's kind of planty, like Robert Plant, but now he's kind of moving away from that. I think he's now developing his own style. And he's getting his own identity now as a singer as well. He's not, I used to see him do a lot of the old hand tilting all the time. Like we used to have this joke, didn't we, where it was like he'd do the double hand tilt because it's just extra, But he's moving away from all that now, and he's developing his own style, his own character. I was a bit in like two halves with the new album, but I think as a vocalist, He's a great new young vocalist, and yeah, there's lots of room to grow in the future. So he's my number four.
Guess who I've got at 4.
Number 4, is it Josh?
It's Josh, yeah. So
Yay!
we're not far off. I mean,
Yeah.
I agree, man. I mean, I think I've enjoyed the album more than you, but we've got similar
Mhm.
reasons for why we don't think it's as strong or
Yeah.
whatever. So but I think vocally he's
Mm.
fucking all over it. He's literally just comes alive, and and I think, like you say, he's found his own identity. I think there's a lot more, and it's not to try and label them a different thing. I think there's a lot more Ronnie James Dio, a lot more
Yeah.
Geddy Lee in there,
Yeah.
and he looks like a little Ronnie James Dio as well, doesn't he? He looks like a little like Middle Earth, little hobbit, bless
Yeah.
him. So he's and I do my only thing with Josh, I've got him so far this list because of how much I love him vocally. Because the first time I heard Black Smoke Rising, I was so excited.
Yeah, likewise.
Just mainly for his voice. I was so honestly, I can remember it really well. But lyrically, there's still a long way to go. Some of the lyrics on Battle of Gardens Gate is really poor. There's a lot of, it's difficult when you're writing that sort of music because there's a lot of metaphors and stuff that can go into it, and really it's down to their own interpretation, their own expression. But there's times when it becomes a little bit Spinal Tap, and I know that's not what they want to do or what they want to express. But apart from that, I think he's so strong, and he's, like you say, he's got so much more of his career left to go, hopefully. So
yeah, and I think on my list at least, he's possibly the youngest, or he's one of he's at least one of the youngest. And this is it for me. It's considering where the band are at in general at this point, so early in the career, and they're going on like major American chat shows and doing all these things at this point, and they're doing that for a reason. There's clear talent there. So yeah. My number 4 is Mark LaBelle of Dirty Honey.
Yeah, I did expect him to wander into your list.
I
didn't think he'd be that high.
You see. Yeah, for me, I was jostling between him and Josh. They were kind of 4 and 5. They were like, in very different ways. They're quite close. And for me in personal taste, but I go with Mark because again, very quickly broken through as a band, Dirty Honey. Didn't know they existed until very recently, so again it's a literal breakthrough there. But he's got this kind of there's power in there, but there's a bit of like a rawness. I get kind of a Aerosmith vibes. I get some Guns N' Roses in there. And it's like an amalgamation of like loads of different artists, but he's got his own kind of style. I just really enjoy them. I think the album that they released, I think that could have been better. But again, very early. It's the first album they brought out. Lots of room for growth, and I think in the next 5 or 6 years, I think he'll be kind of really up there. Because in America, they're starting to break through already. Cool. So yeah, that's my number 4.
Nothing wrong with that. As I say, I was expected it. So fair play for putting it so high, and you defended it well, man. My number 3 is someone that I'm not actually that big a fan of.
Okay.
I just think in terms. So I mainly because I think in terms of like you say, that literal term of breakthrough, in terms of the amount of attention, the amount of talent, and the amount of how much I think that passing of the torch. I think this really comes into it for me. I think this is very much that passing on the torch, and it's Luke Spiller of the Struts.
Right. Okay.
Because he is just blown up massively in America, because he's obviously evokes a lot of them. He's got a lot of Freddie in him, in terms of his vocal range, and obviously his fashion, his general stage persona. I mean, when the Struts toured with Foo Fighters, they come on do a cover of Radio Gaga, and it was uncanny how close it was to Freddie. And I think just in terms of of him as an iconic figure in rock and roll. There's no discredit, but there's not many people on this list I'd have as being iconic, and I think he's not far off already being there. You know, he's instantly recognizable in the States. You know, he's already best friends with Steven Tyler, and I just think purely in terms of breakthrough, in terms of smashing it completely, and even though I'm not a massive fan of the Struts, I think that if the Struts were to fall away or everything, I think Luke would remain. I think he can stand by himself because of his voice and his character and his identity, you know, and that's what I know. I'd have him higher just because I think of his potential in terms, because I do think he's an absolute star, just waiting to happen, man.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, for me, it's my big problem is that he's starting to look too much like Freddie Mercury now. That's my personal thing, but I think, you know, you can be yourself still. Like, I don't think you need to try and evoke somebody else that's an icon. Like, you can be your own icon. So yeah, that's why he's not really on my list, for that reason. But, you know, a lot of people clearly enjoy him. You know, he's as you say, he's exploded, so he's obviously doing something right. Where are we at? Are we on 3?
So that was my number 3. We're now on the top 3.
Yeah.
What's your number 3?
My number 3 is Cody Bowles of Crownlands. Again, a lot of people say he sounds a bit like Geddy Lee, but he's the only vocalist in this list that actually plays drums at the same time, which is an interesting one. You know, he's, as I say, people say he's got this Geddy Lee thing about him, but, you know, I think for me he's a cross between him and like Robert Plant. But he's, you know, they're starting to now, I think, move towards something that is a bit more individual, a little bit more, you know, they're very creative. You know, they're the only 2-piece in this list.
The Royal Blood are a 2-piece.
Oh well, yeah, in my list.
On your list,
yeah. And yeah, you know, again, that for me they offer something different. They're channeling that kind of retro vibe that is very popular at the moment, but they're doing it in their own way. And yeah, I really enjoy them, and you know, you don't know what you're going to get from them. And from a vocalist perspective, he's got that kind of high range. It's, you know, it's mad. He's
got everything, man.
Yeah, this is it. He's like a complete package for me, and he's playing drums at the same time, which is like, how do you do that? You know, how can you project yourself and play drums? It's, you know, it's a bizarre one. So yeah, he's my number 3.
Fair shout. That's cool, man. Top two now. Big.
Yes, this is big.
This is what everybody's been waiting for. My top 2 are like 2 that I just think are already iconic. Like, I genuinely believe that they just stand by themselves as being just absolute, like I listen to them and I just get inspired when I listen to them. I'm getting emotional. It's just another level. My number 2 is Marcus King.
Right, that's high. Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. Just because I just think he's better than everyone else. I had him on today because I had one of his records on, and the first time I got into him, I was so excited to be hearing something that was just so different than everything else that I'd listened to. You know, so sort of anti from that mainstream rock sort of sound. And his voice is just so classic. You know, it doesn't need anything. It just literally just needs a microphone put in front of it. And the same as a guitarist, you know, it's a separate conversation. And as a songwriter, I think he's only 21. And he's been, you know, if you compare him to Josh, I think still on that journey, whereas Marcus just feels like he's already there, man. You know, he writes songs that lyrically have metaphors in them. You know, he's I'm really big on melody and how he fits that in a song, and he does this in this really retro fashion. You know, it feels like you're listening to an old country record, but it's got this modern twist in terms of how it's recorded. And yeah, he's just I can't speak highly enough of him. You know, it's very rare that people come along and you think this person is reminds me of them people that my dad passed over to me that had that iconic, legendary thing about them, where they just, like, if somebody showed me a picture of him from about, like, many streets away, or like, Joe, he's instantly recognizable, in terms of the way he looks as well. Everything's there for me in terms of that. But just as his pure vocal and his pure performance, he's just top notch for me. So yeah, Marcus King.
Right, number 2 for me, it's Nathan James of Inglorious.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
I put him high. He's gone list with the there he goes in a motorbike.
He's livid because he's just asked me where I put him, and he's not happy about it.
He's moved up the list very recently because of We Will Ride. Before We Will Ride, maybe, I don't know, maybe 5, somewhere around there. But I think now he's shown real growth over the last couple of years. Lyrically, he's got a lot stronger, I feel. And vocally, again, as you say earlier, he's got a lot of range. He's quite versatile. He's obviously not one for running about on stage and stuff, but if I'm looking at him as a pure vocalist, I think he's got to be up there for me as that kind of new generation of breakthrough vocalists. I think he's right up there at the top for me. So yeah, that's my number 2.
Have we got the same number 1?
We might. Who knows?
I think we have. I'd be very shocked if either of us have left this next person.
Imagine if this next person just isn't on the list.
I mean, I think the reason we both still think that Meatloaf is relevant, because of his natural. Mine's Jay Buchanan of Rival Sons, and I imagine.
Mine is the same. It is Jay Buchanan of Rival Sons.
Like I said when I was talking about my top 2, Marcus and Jay, for me, are just already iconic. Already, like, this is a clip where they do "Hopelessly Devoted to You" from Grease acoustic with him and Scott in this library on YouTube, and it honestly, like, his vocal range is just immense, and I love getting excited when I hear things. It just really makes me feel like I'm a kid again. And to hear him singing his range and just how epic it is, in the way he moves as well. He has this very Jim Morrison intensity where he's holding the mic and he's looking back and coming to you. He's not trying to. Well, a lot of what we've said in terms of the different people in this list, maybe they're too heavily inspired by people. They're trying to tip the hat too much, whereas for me, Jay tips it in the perfect direction all the time. It's like, this is who I am, this is my journey, this is my voice, and this is how I want to project it. And Rival Sons are exactly like that as a band. I don't feel like they're anybody but Rival Sons, and that is, they could go out and do a completely different album than Feral Roots, and I think people would go, do you know what, that's cool, because that's up to them. That is where they're at on their journey. And I just think Jay embodies that in terms of everything he is as a vocalist. Yeah,
it's I think a big telltale for me that he's possibly the top one around at the moment is when we do on our podcast the one band from the past and one band from the present that you could tour with, he comes up. Well, him and Rival Sons come up again and again and again, and it he's clearly admired by like a lot of musicians, which has got to be like a very high compliment in your own industry. And as you say, he's got so much range and power. I mean, there's one that sticks out for me where they're doing a cover of Wild Horses, and he's just there with the guitar with the slide and stuff, and he's not even mic'd up. He's just singing out, and it's ridiculous. It sounds like he's got a mic on.
I love
the amount of power is.
He's got great mic techniques as well, because obviously, like, he'll pull it away and do a big scream, and it's not too heavy on the microphone. Then and stuff like that's really, really important when you've got a really strong voice. So yeah, I'm not shocked. I think that it just shows how far Jay and Rival Sons have come. Quick question before we sign off, Mr. Basie. In your list, who do you think's got the best voice?
Oh,
Who do you think's got the best voice? And I'll pick mine.
I think it is Jay over Rival Sons. If you were looking at pure voice on its own, eliminate everything else. And I think that's why he's at my number one, because I feel he's the complete package. Like, he is the finished article today. That is,
it's not a progression. Yeah, he's there. I mean, that's probably why I put Marcus King second, because he's 21. I've probably got him as the finished article now. But my number one singer, I mean, it'd be a toss-up for me between Luke from the Struts, Nathan James, and Jay in terms of just pure vocal, but I'd still have Jay. Who's your best performance?
I have to look at this list. My best performer. That's a very
if you think you're going to go to the gig and you feel like you're going to come away, they might have an off day vocally, but you still feel like they can deliver a good show. It might still be Jay. I feel very comfortable.
I think it could be Jay again, or possibly it's a toss up. If you were looking at performance between Jay and Cody Bowles of Crownlands, because I think Cody has something just very different, and it's perhaps because he plays drums as well. But it's I haven't seen them live yet, but you can see through like many videos online. He'll do sections where he's out on front at the front of the stage doing his thing, and then he'll go and walk around the back while still singing, and then start and play drums. And it's like that's just totally different to anybody else.
I think that.
So it's a different experience, and that's fresh in itself at that point. So for me those two are in terms of performance at the moment, but it could change.
It's difficult. I'd be tempted to put probably Marcus King, because I think he's just such a phenomenal guitarist, and his vocals aren't necessarily as with Jay, that's the power of it, and Nathan, that's their thing, Whereas obviously, because Marcus is also a fantastic guitarist and just a fantastic professional performer, I think you get that from him. In terms of just entertainment and coming away feeling like I've been to a show, it'd be Baz or Jaron from Wagons or Cadillac Free, because it's that man. We talk a lot on the show about people having a character they go into. And for me, them two in particular, there's a complete. I feel like they're going out and it's just tapping into that character and giving the audience what they want. We talk a lot when we spoke about with the Rock's reaction to Maiden giving you what you want. They do that. They know you want them things that you've been waiting to see, and they deliver. As does Jay. But yeah, I enjoyed that. It was difficult, and that's not. I think that's more due to the fact that there's so many different options. I would have easily said Dan from Revival Black. Could have easily said, as you say, Crownlands frontman. So there's a lot of different ones in there for me, and I think I've tried to pick it. Maybe I think we talk a lot about this, right? I like a lot of different elements.
Yes.
In terms of a band, I like to feel like it's a full package, and it's the same with a vocalist. How did you find the overall putting the list together?
It's like from scratch. At first, you think, God, because as you say, you don't want to miss anybody. But now, I'm looking at this list now, and it feels like, for me, at the moment, it's like, well, yeah. This is this is my personal obvious list of like the top 10 of this kind of new generation that we've got now. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see maybe in a couple of years whether that list has changed, whether we've got any new faces in there, because it's there seems to be a lot coming through now in like in terms of really breaking through. I think there is. To coin the phrase, this new wave of classic rock, I think there literally is a wave coming through
Yeah,
now.
that's the only thing I look at it and I think they're probably my top 10 favorite rock vocalists. You know, I feel a slight bit of guilt for not including more new wave of classic rock bands. But at the same time, I think the whole point of it is that we're meant to be honest about who our favorites are and not give people a platform just for the sake of wanting to do it. You know, it's about what we believe is our favorites. You know, and if you've got other favorites, then let us know. Yeah, that's cool.
Yes, it'll be interesting to hear your favorites. Are we wrong? You know, is our number one pick wrong? Is our top three wrong? You comment below and let us know on that.
Indeed. And where can people go if they want to watch more content from Beyond the Vibe, Mr. Vasey?
Well, if you go onto our YouTube, you can find that every Saturday from 10 a.m. there is a Beyond the Vibe podcast where you'll find a different guest. And if you want to see who that guest is in advance, you can go on Facebook on Beyond the Vibe, and every Wednesday from 10 a.m. we'll have that guest revealed.
We will indeed. And if you are checking us out on YouTube, make sure you check out all of our interviews from the past and make sure you go down. I'm trying to work it out on this. I reckon it's probably that. No, is it that?
You're wrong. It's the other way. Yeah.
Right. You go down. Click subscribe, click the bell. You'll never miss a video. We're going to do more top 10s like this if people dig them. And obviously, like Rice said, every week we interview a new guest on the scene. They can be from older bands, newer bands. You know, we have a wide range and we love chatting to people and bringing the community together before we all head back out and get back on the road, where me and Rye will probably end up as well. So we'll see you there as well. Thank you for checking this video out.